Contemporary Practice, Exercise 4.4, Creating a Techniques file. The secondary phase of this assignment, I'd wanted it to be a little bit more formal. So here I've used a file so that I can slot pieces of information into that file. And then I went ahead and mounted some samples that had been applied using techniques and so forth. And again, I'd gone through old pieces of work and any fragments or leftovers that I've kept during my studies in my storage, and came up with the idea of actually mounting these onto card and bullet pointing the technique that was specifically used on these samples. Now, a lot of the time, I do think with our practice at the moment, a lot of the techniques that we are using do happen by accident, even though we follow the route of a possible craft-based technique like fabric manipulation or dyeing fabric. But we do come across some, accidents here. There's some dyeing of paper where I've blotted my calico fabric to make the fabric dry quicker, which has now become part of the technique file because it was a useful technique to keep. Photography work is playing quite a role within the file. I do, over a period of time with all my assignments, collate lots of photographs, so these have now become useful, and oddments and fragments of samples that I've worked with that I've either cut off or they've been left over and just popped to one side, and just bullet pointing some of the ideas of how this technique was achieved. So over a period of time, we can actually see that the technique file starts to build up and starts to make connections with things like fabric manipulation, how this was achieved, and how this was then, developed into other areas of the fabrics for other assignments. The work that I've used has been applicable to what I've enjoyed doing as a technique. Some of these techniques have been craft-based, and then through development and further ideas with the combinations of mixed media and drawing and so forth have developed naturally. So I think the technique file then becomes personal to me, and has definitely been worth the research and the development of it, so that I've now been able to isolate areas of my work and I can actually add to this file, so it will become a useful tool. And I think there are areas where samples have been created that will, for the future, possibly re-engage to be reworked and redeveloped.